Alright, you've probably read the title already. I'll just get into the problems. This is just dedicated for AQA. I've probably written that, but I'll just say it again. And at GCSE level. Anyway, I'm just going to be going through over past paper problems and showing you how I'd solve them. And obviously you're going to be writing these with a pen and paper, but writing them on a computer is much more memorable almost, and will help you a lot when you get to the real exam. I would recommend doing that. Anyway, let's go on to this problem. So, it says here, write a Python program to check if an email address has been entered correctly by a box user. Sure, okay. What does it say box? Oh, I copied other text, that's why. Okay, by a user, that makes more sense. Your program must get the user to input an email address, okay. Get the user to input the email address a second time, okay. And output the message match, and output the email address if the email addresses are the same. Output the message do not match if the email address are entered are not the same. Should use correct indentation, appropriate meaningful variable names, Use the answer grid below. Okay, obviously I don't have an answer grid, I'm going to be writing it on a computer, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so first thing it says, your program must get the user input an email address. Okay, so we can say email. We'll call it email1. Or we'll just call it email. Now, because an email address is it's a string, okay? I'm assuming you'll know what a string is. If you don't, search it up. It's just a data type. That's the best I can explain it. It's a data type. It's just characters essentially. Anyway, we'll take the user input, so enter an email address. I don't know if you need to output a message, but I'm just going to do one anyway. And it says to get the user to input the email address a second time. So we'll say email2 equals, let's copy this for simplicity, enter your email again, we'll say, okay, and let's say, what else, output the message match, and output the email address if the email addresses entered are the same. So I'm assuming they also care about your capitals. So if I had, like, let me write down here, if I had bob@gmail.com, but then if I had bob@gmail.com without the capital B at the start, this will output not match, I'm assuming, because it doesn't say, this is just an assumption, but I would assume they're also asking for that. Let me think. Okay, okay, I don't think it would matter actually. I think you'll need to make them both lowercase, just so that they have the same casing and you can compare them. So what this does is essentially it will convert all the characters in here to lowercase. It will ignore all the like at, dot, and whatever. It will ignore all those characters, but it will convert them to lowercase. So what we can do now is it says check if the two emails match, and if they do, the email addresses. Oh wait, does it say output the email address if the email addresses match? Yeah, okay. And output the message match. Okay. So what we can do is if email is equal to, so the same as, email2, then we can print match, and then they clearly want you to print the email address as well, so print email. I'm assuming this dot lower, I'm just thinking about it now, I'm assuming they won't deduct marks if you do that. But, this is just me thinking. I don't think they should. I don't think they should. But anyway, the next one. Output the message do not match if the email addresses are entered are not the same. Okay. So you can see that in the original one it says output the email as well, but in this one it doesn't say output the email, it just says output the message do not match. So what we can do is we can say else print do not match. So let me remove this so there's no errors. If we run this, what should we say? bob@gmail.com, and then we say bob@gmail.com. Let's say we forgot a capital. It should say match, yeah. Because it's turned both of them into lowercase, and they both have the same casing and the same characters, they will be a match. Now, let's say I put in bob@gmail.com again, but then if I put sarah@gmail.com, it should print do not match. So this is a working solution. This works. Yeah, I'll go on to another problem. Let's see. There we go. It's a good one. This is 7 marks, for anyone wondering. Well, the previous one was 5 marks, if anyone was wondering about that one. I'm assuming that problem people have done before. It's a very common starter problem. Anyway, we'll get onto this. Right, Python program. The box thing that always gets copied. That calculates the value of the bonus payment for an employee based on how many times they have sold and the number of number of years, I can't read, number of years they have been employed. Okay. So the program should get the user to input the number of items sold and input the number of years employed. Okay. Output the value of the bonus payment if the years of employment is less than or equal to 2. Okay. And the number of items sold is greater than 100. Then the bonus will be the number of items sold multiplied by 2. Okay. So let's think here. I'm getting so what I think immediately is that because we're taking the number of items sold, you can't have 1.2 of an item, you can't have 0.8 of an item. You can only have 1, 6, 9, 12, a whole number of items, right? So this will have to be an integer. I'll put here integer, just so I know. Okay. That's just a comment. Don't worry about it. And the next one is to get the number of years. Again, some people may argue you can have 1.2 years, but I'm assuming in this one you won't. You'll have a whole number. So I'm gonna say here that it's also an integer. Now let's think, what else does it say? If the years of employment is less than or equal to 2, the number of items sold is the number of items sold is greater than 100, then the bonus. Okay. Right. So I'll start programming. So we'll take items and we'll call it. We'll convert it into an integer. We'll say enter items sold. Okay. Again, I don't know if you need a message. I'm just putting a message anyway. So, and then it says years employed. So we'll put a variable name years. By the way, again, the what's it called? The variable name should be meaningful, as it says here. So bear in mind. And let's say, oh, oops. Enter years. Let's just make it simple. Okay. And then what do we need to do? We need to do if, so it says there, if the years of employment is less than, so if years is less than or equal to 2, and, I'm just reading what it says here, and the number of items sold, so items, is greater than, so not greater than or equal to, just greater than 100, then the bonus will be the number of items sold multiplied by 2. So, items sold okay. Now one thing I have forgotten is to make a variable name for bonus, so I'll set this to 0 for now, because there is no bonus at the moment. And it says the bonus will be the number of items sold multiplied by 2. Okay, so what we need to say is bonus equals the number of items sold, so items multiplied by 2. So that's our first if statement. Now, what's the next one? If the years of employment is greater than 2, okay, then the bonus will be the number of items sold multiplied by 10. Okay, so if years is greater than 2, then the bonus will be the number of items sold multiplied by 10. Okay, so bonus equals items multiplied by 10. Okay, now what else does it say? Otherwise, so if none of these conditions fit, the bonus is 0. So the reason I don't need to put else here is because the bonus is automatically at the beginning 0, and let's say it didn't meet any of these requirements, it won't do anything to the bonus, and the bonus will always stick at 0 because nothing's happened to it, if none of these conditions meet, that is. So what we can do is, what does it say? It says to output bonus, right? Yeah, output the value of the bonus payment. So what we can just do here is print bonus. So now, if we test this out, now if we, let's think, what numbers can we use for a test? Obviously in the exam you can't test it with a computer. Best way to test it is probably with just, think, I guess. Just remember the numbers and follow through your program and see, okay, did it meet this requirement? No. Then go on to the next one. Did it meet this requirement? Yes. Then what do I need to do? Okay, I need to multiply by 10. Okay, and then what else? Then print. Okay, it works. And then you also need to remember about your parentheses, your speech marks, meaningful variable names, etc., etc. And your indentation. That's very key. They're very picky about indentation. Always remember that. Anyway, let's do this. So, if we run this and let's think of examples less than or equal to 2. So let's say 2 is number of items. Sorry, I should do this the other way around. Number of items should be greater than 100 for this condition to meet. So we'll say 200. Okay, let's say we sold 200 items, and the years of employment, let's say, is 2. Okay, so based off this, because the number of items sold is greater than 100, and the number of years, which is 2, which is I'm about to enter, is less than or equal to 2, then the bonus will equal the number of items, which is 200, multiplied by 2, and it should print that, because it won't meet this requirement. Anyway, we'll enter that, and it should be 400. There we go, 400. So it works. Now, and the reason it doesn't obviously do this, because when we enter 2, it will obviously check if the number of years is greater than 2. 2 is obviously not greater than 2, so it won't actually do whatever logic is put into this if statement. But yeah, that's the next problem. So that was 7 marks. So there's a good 7 marks there. I'll go on to the next problem. Let me find it quickly. Let's see. Okay, got it. Okay, so a theme park charges £15 per person for a daily ticket. If there are 6 or more, the box is always going to be there. 6 or more people in a group, the group is given a £5 discount. So £5 is obviously deducted off that amount, so that's what I've already thought. Write a Python program to calculate the total charge for a group of people visiting the theme park. The program must get the user to enter the number of people in a group and calculate the total charge by charging £15 per person, reducing the total charge by 5 if there are 6 or more people, and then output the total charge. Okay, so let's think. What will we need to do? Enter the number of people. So I'm already thinking you can't have 0.2 of a person. If you do, then that's concerning. This will obviously have to be an integer. The charge, that can just be a variable name which is automatically set to 0. I'll explain why in a second, but it should just be 0, I think. So let's do the first part. So get the user to enter the number of people. So let's say people equals input. Please enter your party. So that's the number of people, and then it says here that it charges £15 per person. So okay, let's do this actually. Charge shouldn't be 0. Let's say charge is equal to the 15 multiplied by people. Okay, and then it says reduce the total charge by 5 if there are 6 or more people. So if people is greater than or equal to 6, then the charge will be deducted by 5. Okay? Now, we can just print charge. By the way, this is 6 marks, if anyone's wondering. And I believe this is our finished program. So, we can think about it now. Let's see. So, if we have, let's say, 6 people, so what's 15 times 6? 15, 30, 45, 46, 75, 90. Okay, so £90 would be the charge. But because there are 6 people in the party, it should deduct 90 by £5. So it should remove £5 off 90. So it should print 85 if I put in 6. Let's test it. So 6, 85. There we go. Now, let's say if I put in 5, so 15 times 5, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, I can't do math, 75, okay. Now, 5 is not greater than or equal to 6, so it should just print 75, as it does. So that is our finished program. That is 6 marks. Let me quickly find another problem. Okay, let's see here. Okay. This is probably a problem many people have done. It's a very common starter problem for which teachers give. Let me remove the box quickly. But this is very familiar to many people probably, but I'll just go through it anyway. So it says, write a Python program that allows a taxi company to calculate how much a taxi fare should be. The program should allow the user to enter the journey distance in kilometers, no validation is required, okay, and allow the user to enter the number of passengers, and that also requires no validation. And it says, calculate the taxi fare by charging £2 for every passenger regardless of the distance, and charging a further £1.50 for every kilometre regardless of how many passengers there are. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, I see how you do this. So, what we can do is first we need to obviously get the journey distance. I'm going to say that this should be a float. Reason I say it should be a float is because you can actually travel 1.2 kilometers, can travel 1.6 kilometers, and that's a decimal, it's not an integer. So, I'll write here float. And the number of passengers, again, concerning if you have 0.2 of a person, this should be an integer. And then it should calculate the fare. Okay. So, what does it need to do? Charge £2 for every passenger regardless of distance. So let's first take the inputs. So, we'll say km for kilometers, and then we'll take float input. Please enter your distance. Okay, there we go. And what else do we need? Number of passengers, so we'll just say people equals int input. That's a meaningful variable name. Please enter your party. Okay, and then what does this say here? Charging £2 for every passenger regardless of distance. Okay, so we can say the fare is equal to, so what would the fare be? The fare is going to be the charge, which is automatically set to £2 for every person, so you can say in brackets, I'll say y, people multiplied by 2, but we also need to add an additional £1.50 for every kilometre, regardless of how many passengers there are. So, what we need to do is, we need to do the km multiplied by 1.5. So, what will this do? It will obviously set the £2 charge and total that, but it will also add the additional charge of £1.50 for each kilometre. So, if we do this now, we can just print fare, and you can run this. So you can fact check this. I'm not gonna really fact check it. Let me move this quickly up so you can see it. Let's say our distance is 5. Make it simple. And then let's say the number of people is 6. So, well, I'll try to calculate it. So that's 12, so 17, 18, 19. So that should be £19.50 if I've calculated that right. Yeah, £19.50. So, yeah, there we go. That's our taxi fare. And that was 7 marks. That's a very generous 7 marks. But yeah, I hope this helped. I hope this will give you a bit more help with any future problems you may attempt. But yeah, that's it. I may do another one on a bit of a harder problem, which may be considered like a 10 marker maybe. I'll try to find a few, but yeah, that's it for the video. I hope this helped, and see you.